You're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to attend the meeting of the foreign ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China's Tianjin. Leaders to exchange views on SCO cooperation in various international and regional issues. India strongly condemns attacks on Rath Yatra procession in Toronto, calling the act despicable against spirit of festivity, urges Canadian authorities to take action against those responsible. U.S. President Donald Trump tells Russia to end Ukraine conflict within 50 days or face massive new economic sanctions as he lays out plans for new infusions of weaponry for Kyiv via NATO. Iran says there will be no new nuclear talks with the United States if it insists Tehran to abandon uranium enrichment activities. First Indian astronaut to visit International Space Station, Shubhanshu Shukla, and 3 astronauts on their way to Earth splashdown near California at around 3 p.m. IST. And on to the details now. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will attend the meeting of the foreign ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China's Tianjin. Earlier, in a significant diplomatic development, India and China held high-level talks on the sidelines of SCO Foreign Ministers Meeting, signaling renewed efforts to stabilize ties, including de-escalation. Both sides noted that stable and constructive ties between India and China will not only benefit them, but would benefit the world as well. Both nations now look ahead to further meetings under the SCO umbrella with conscious optimism and a clear message: dialogue remains the way forward.
On the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO Foreign Ministers Meeting, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi, a meeting seen as a positive signal in the evolving ties between the two Asian giant economies. Marking his first visit to China since the strained bilateral ties following the 2020 LAC standoff, Minister Jaishankar emphasized the need for a far-seeing approach, citing gradual progress in border stability. Jaishankar stressed that India and China should now look at de-escalation of the situation along the LAC after making good progress in normalizing bilateral ties in the past 9 months.
We have made good progress in the past 9 months for the normalization of our bilateral relations. It is the result of the resolution of friction along the border and our ability to maintain peace and tranquility there. This is the fundamental basis of our mutual strategic trust and for smooth development of bilateral relations. It is now incumbent on us to address other aspects related to the border, including de-escalation.
India's External Affairs Minister will take part in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Council of Foreign Ministers meeting in Tianjin on Tuesday. The primary mandate of the summit remains to combat terrorism, separatism, and extremism. Earlier, Jaishankar held delegation-level discussions with Chinese Vice President Han Cheng. The Indian minister asserted that bilateral relationship between India and China has been steadily improving since the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping in Kazan last October.
As neighboring nations and major economies in the world today, there are various facets and dimensions of our ties. Measures towards normalizing our people-to-people exchanges can certainly foster mutually beneficial cooperation. It is also essential in this context that restrictive trade measures and roadblocks are avoided. I hope to discuss these issues with you in further detail.
Jaishankar's visit follows visits by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who travelled to China in June for the SCO meetings. Last month, on the sidelines of the SCO Defense Ministers meeting in China's Qingdao, India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh stressed that India seeks a permanent solution to its long-standing border dispute with China. Singh made the comments during a meeting with his Chinese counterpart Dong Jun as the ministers held in-depth talks on the need to maintain peace along the India-China frontier. In the last few months, India and China have initiated a number of measures to repair bilateral ties, from working out final details of direct passenger flights between Delhi and Beijing to resumption of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra after a gap of nearly 5 years. As ministers of Asia's two largest economies meet, peaceful, stable, and constructive ties between New Delhi and Beijing are seen as vital, not just for the region, but for global geopolitics as well. Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India.
And in Beijing, Minister Jaishankar also met China's International Department of the CPC Central Committee Minister Liu Jianchao in Beijing. Well, the two leaders discussed the changing global order and the emergence of multipolarity. Jaishankar spoke about a constructive India-China relationship in that context. And India's Ministry of External Affairs has taken up the matter of eggs thrown on Rath Yatra in Toronto with the Canadian government, stressing that despicable acts are regrettable. MEA's official spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said, and I quote, "We have seen reports regarding disruption created by mischievous elements during the Rath Yatra procession in Toronto. Such despicable acts are regrettable and are against the spirit of the festival, which seeks to promote unity, inclusivity, and social harmony. We've strongly taken up the matter with Canadian authorities to hold the perpetrators of the act accountable. We hope the Canadian government will take necessary action to protect the religious rights of people." However, the Rath Yatra continued despite the disruption, with participants maintaining their devotion and spirit. The annual Chariot Festival rolled through Toronto this weekend, drawing thousands in dance, devotion and colour. Our reporter Tarun Paul Singh witnessed the spiritual spectacle. Take a look.
Right now, we are at City of Toronto, where Lord Jagannath is ready, and whole community is here talking about the Yatra, celebrating the Yatra. Let's go inside and talk with them.
Jagannath Swami Nayan Pathgami Nayan Pathgami Bhavatu Me.
Some festivals entertain, this one elevates. Toronto's downtown turned into moving temple this weekend as the sacred wheels of Rath Yatra, the Chariot Festival, carved a path of devotion, joy and harmony down Yonge Street.
This Rath Yatra, it's a parade. It's a chariot parade that we do every year in the month of July, where Lord Jagannath, Lord Baldev and Srimati Subhadra Maharani comes on a Yonge Street. It's an ancient tradition of serving Lord Jagannath, where Lord Jagannath comes and gives his mercy on the streets. Not over in India, Srila Prabhupada came into the West and bring this festival to all over the world.
It's like home away from home, because when you come here, you see lots and lots of people. They are very excited. You see and hear Lord Jagannath cheerfully seeing everyone and enjoying and being with us. That's the biggest thing about it.
Towering 40-foot chariots, ornately decorated, carry the deities Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra through the city, pulled not by horses but by hundreds of fans, young and old, singing, chanting, dancing. No barriers, no bordering, just bhakti, pure devotion.
This is my first time here at the Toronto Rath Yatra. These festivals are really about everybody coming together and celebrating the holy names, and also bringing Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, their lordships out for everybody to see. So it's a very joyful festival.
With roots in Puri, India, Rath Yatra dates back over 2 millennia. But in Toronto, it was found a second home, introduced here by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in the 1970s. The festival has grown into one of the North America's most majestic spiritual celebration. After the procession, the celebration continued on Center Island, a space transformed into a spiritual carnival. Children ran barefoot through grass, elders meditated in shade, artists painted with purpose. There was music, classical dance, yoga, interactive exhibits, and above all, connections. As the sun sets on Center Island and the last plate was served, the real takeaway lingered in the air. Unity, service, and spirit can move more than the chariots. They can move hearts, because in the city of many, we are reminded once again, fate doesn't divide us, it drives us forward together. From Canada, this is Tarun Paul Singh.
Well, shifting focus, after 18 days in space and nearly 7.6 million miles travelled, the AX-4 crew is heading home. India's pilot Shubhanshu Shukla, Commander Peggy Whitson and two mission specialists undocked on Monday at 16:45 IST. Their splashdown is expected off the California coast today around 15:01 IST. The mission marks a historic milestone, especially for India, ushering in a new era in human spaceflight.
Reigniting national pride and marking a major step forward in India's human spaceflight journey, AX-4 mission pilot Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, along with 3 other astronauts, entered the Dragon Grace spacecraft on Monday, leaving behind the International Space Station to begin his journey back to Earth. The hatch of the Dragon Grace spacecraft, connecting it to the International Space Station, was closed at 2:37 p.m. IST on Monday. Undocking with the ISS was completed at 4:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. In a social media post, India's Minister for Science and Technology and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh, said the entire nation eagerly awaits Shukla's safe return. Shukla's family expressed immense pride and joy ahead of his return on the 15th of July. They're planning a grand welcome, reflecting the nation's pride in his historic achievement. The 18-day stay aboard the ISS marks a milestone in India's space exploration. As part of the Axiom Mission 4, or AX-4, Shukla became the first Indian in 41 years to reach the ISS. During the mission, he conducted over 60 experiments, including 7 led by ISRO, focusing on microgravity research, covering sustainable space agriculture, crop resilience, microbial adaptation, and muscle regeneration. The AX-4 mission, a collaboration between ISRO, NASA, Axiom Space and SpaceX, marked India's return to human spaceflight after more than 4 decades. Launched on the 25th of last month, the mission saw Indian Air Force pilot Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla make history. On Sunday, before undocking, the AX-4 crew participated in a farewell ceremony aboard the ISS. Shukla said, 41 years ago, an Indian astronaut described what India looked like from space. And now, people are eager to know what India looks like today.
आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है. आज का भारत निडर दिखता है. आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है. आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है. और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूं कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है.
Shukla's participation is a key milestone for India's space ambitions, particularly the Gaganyaan program. On the 28th of June, Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with Group Captain Shukla via video conferencing and said that his mission and experience would significantly contribute to India's space journey.
आप तो मुझे भली भांति जानते हैं, जब भी किसी से बात होती है तो मैं होमवर्क जरूर देता हूं. हमें मिशन गगनयान को आगे बढ़ाना है. हमें अपना खुद का स्पेस स्टेशन बनाना है और चंद्रमा पर भारतीय एस्ट्रोनॉट की लैंडिंग भी करानी है. इन सारे मिशंस में आपके अनुभव बहुत काम आने वाले हैं.
After landing, Group Captain Shukla and her crew will undergo a 7-day rehabilitation program under the supervision of flight surgeons to readjust to Earth's gravity and conditions. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
And India's runner Fauja Singh, who earned the tag of world's oldest marathoner, died at the age of 114 in a road accident on Monday. According to the police, a car hit him on Monday afternoon, due to which he suffered a serious head injury. Fauja was immediately rushed to the hospital. However, he succumbed to the injuries later. Age was never a barrier for Fauja Singh. The death of his son and wife forced him to search for a worthwhile alternative in life. At 89 years of age, he took to running seriously. Fauja Singh ran his first race, the London Marathon, in 2000. He was well known in his village for running from one place to another. Fauja Singh competed in 9 42-kilometer marathons in London, Toronto and New York. His best time was in Toronto, where he clocked 5 hours, 40 minutes and 4 seconds. He was a torchbearer for the 2004 Athens Games and 2012 London Olympics and appeared in an advertisement for a major sports brand several years ago alongside the likes of David Beckham and Muhammad Ali. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. Zelensky thanked Trump for readiness to support Ukraine. Texas flood disaster death toll rises as heavy rain looms. Officials warn of more rains. And drones and fireworks dazzle over Eiffel Tower for Bastille Day.
When I came here, I was very much, astonished by the food which is available here, the culinary food which is available from every part of India. It is impossible to get everything here done, and there are many, setup like the tawas and the oven, pizza ovens, everything. This is impossible to bring it here. I thank the Shrine Board and this Bhandara for getting all the things here.
Welcome back. You're watching DT India Live. I'm Vipakshi Khurana. And moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday announced a toughened stance against Russia for its Ukraine conflict. He promised a fresh wave of missiles and other weaponry for Ukraine and giving Moscow 50 days to reach a ceasefire or face sanctions. Well, in the Oval Office, at an announcement with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump told reporters he'd become deeply frustrated with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump's decision to send weapons to Ukraine marked a shift in his approach after earlier efforts to get Putin to agree to a ceasefire repeatedly failed. Under the deal, Trump said the U.S. will supply weapons that will be paid for by NATO countries. Trump's promise that NATO would pay for the weapons satisfies his demand that the U.S. cannot continue bankrolling the war and put the financial burden on U.S. allies in Europe.
Billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield. I mean, the 500 is, sort of meaningless after a while because at a certain point it doesn't matter. It's not going to be, 100. 100 is going to serve the same function. But, yeah, I have it at 100%. They may have it, I don't know what they're going to end up with. They may have it at 102. They may have it at 500.
Well, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has made regular appeals to the U.S. and its NATO allies for weapons to help defend itself against Russia. Rutte said Germany, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, the Netherlands and Canada all want to be a part of rearming Ukraine. He said massive numbers of weapons would be sent, including missiles, as part of a first wave of equipment.
So if I was Vladimir Putin today and hear you speaking about what you were planning to do in 50 days and this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm Ukraine, I think this is really great news for that. So I really want to thank you for that. And that means the Europeans paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, it might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine and then the US later backfilling it because speed is of the essence here.
Well, Trump coupled his arms announcement with a vow to impose tariffs and sanctions on Russia if Moscow will not make a ceasefire agreement within 50 days. Well, the president threatened to hit buyers of Russian exports with sanctions unless Russia agrees a peace deal in 50 days. It is a major shift in policy brought on by disappointment with Moscow. Trump has been reluctant to punish Russia, but he came away from a recent phone call with Putin disappointed that the Russian leader appeared prepared to continue the conflict.
I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke to the U.S. president after his announcement of new weapons for Ukraine and thanked him for his support. Zelensky said he and Trump had agreed to speak more frequently and continue coordinating their steps.
Зустріч з генералом Келлогом, він почав візит в Україну доволі змістовно. Ми говорили продуктивно. Я вдячний президенту Трампу за готовність підтримувати захист життів наших людей.
Well, Iran said on Monday there would be no new nuclear talks with the United States if they were conditioned on Tehran abandoning its uranium enrichment activities. Well, the remarks came after Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismaili Bakai said Iran had not set a date for any meeting with the United States. Washington and Tehran had been engaged in several rounds of negotiations seeking to strike a deal on the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Arakchi and Witkoff had previously failed to conclude a deal after 5 rounds of talks that began in April, while the Omani-mediated negotiations were halted as Israel launched its surprise attack on Iranian nuclear and military facilities on June 13th, with the United States later joining its ally and carrying out limited strikes, though Tehran has said it will not renounce its right to the peaceful use of nuclear power. And in the U.S., the death toll from a devastating series of floods across Texas climbed to 131 on Monday. Authorities warned that another wave of heavy rainfall threatens to worsen what is already one of the deadliest flood disasters in recent U.S. history. At a press briefing, Texas Governor Greg Abbott said FEMA needed improvements and said the state was working with the agency. The National Weather Service has issued a flood watch through Tuesday morning for a large area of central Texas stretching from the Rio Grande to San Antonio and Austin, warning a potential heavy rainfall of up to 6 inches. Riverfront residents as well as search teams still combing the banks of the waterway were advised to seek higher ground until the latest danger had passed. And on to some sports news now. In a nail-biting finish, England beat India by 22 runs on the 5th day of the 3rd Test match at Lord's on Monday. The hosts have now taken a lead of 2-1 in the series. England claimed 4 wickets in the opening session, but Ravindra Jadeja and lower-order batsmen have kept them at bay with the dogged resistance. Fast bowler Jofra Archer removed Rishabh Pant and Washington Sundar. Ben Stokes got rid of KL Rahul and Chris Woakes removed Nitish Kumar Reddy. Both the teams will now meet at Old Trafford in Manchester for the 4th Test on the 23rd of July. And a grand fireworks and drones display lit up the night sky around the Eiffel Tower in Paris in celebration of the Bastille Day. Crowds gather to watch as drones encircle the landmark, spelling out liberty, equality, fraternity, and Paris Agreement in French, in a tribute to France's national motto and the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.